You have to learn the technology, period. I don't care what industry you're in. You have to sit down and begin to master it.
In terms of the tech world, I am learning as I go.
Don't even do it.
We go on and on and on.
You can.
All right. Welcome to the Tech School Podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Mr. Harris.
Mr. Harris, good day to you.
I'm good. I don't know. That took me. I'm Mr. Harris. I'm Mr. Harris.
I am Mr. Harris.
I'm Mr. Harris.
Mr. Karlos Harris.
Yes, I am.
Yes, how's it going, brother?
I'm okay. How are you today?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Look, it's cold here in Detroit, but the sun is shining outdoors.
I don't
giving
know.
a little boost of it.
I don't know what that means. It
means vitamin D.
You started off with cold. Cold.
It's mid-December in Detroit.
It is freezing.
It's mid-December.
And in my
Detroit.
mind, I am in, let's pick somewhere warm.
Okay, Miami.
Miami, I don't know. Is Miami that warm right now?
Florida, you know what? One of my colleagues went to Florida last week, and they said it was roughly in the upper 50s. I mean,
okay.
In comparison.
That's you might as well be in Detroit.
Whoa.
I'm saying.
We ran with 60 degrees the other day.
Okay.
So, look, it is what it is. But hey, the sun is shining.
The sun is shining.
It gives you just a little bit of a boost.
It takes me out of my seasonal depression.
Yes, it does. Temporarily.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that I don't have seasonal depression. I'm just saying it takes me out of it for all those who do have it.
All right. And with that being said, from outdoors to indoors, a new setting here you've put together.
We are working on it, Josh. I think going into the 24th season, we really want to get serious about our podcast.
Yes.
And so, I mean, that just means there's a whole lot of other tools that we could possibly use or utilize in order to do that. As you can see, I've brought a couple of guys in extra to give us a hand. And so we're going to be moving in this direction in the upcoming season. So look for some better things to be happening with the podcast.
Hey, it's always been good energy doing this with you, brother. Great dialogue, of course. And now, I mean, look, the production has always been good too.
And I hear that. I hear that, but I'm like, hold on.
But it keeps evolving. You keep coming up with ideas to enhance the production.
Yeah. And so for me, it hasn't been the greatest. I guess because I know. I'm so close to it. I know it, right? And so
it's been good.
And I've heard that time and time again. I literally, somebody walked up to me the other day and said that, you know, man, I listened to the podcast for about 3 hours the other day. And this is no jiving, right? I mean, literally said, we listened to the podcast sitting in my driveway for about 3 hours the other day. I said, what the hell were y'all doing in the driveway?
Listening to the podcast. Listening to
3
the
hours?
podcast. Yes.
What were you doing in it? Hardy, I'm going to say your name. What were you doing in the driveway for 3 hours that you were listening to the podcast?
You said Hardy?
Hardy.
I appreciate you, brother.
Hardy
I
works here
appreciate
at
you.
School.
That is very flattering.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
It means we're diving into topics that are on the minds of a lot of people that are probably not often discussed.
Yeah. And I like that too, because I often hear from just friends of mine who have had or found time to listen to the podcast, and I get some good feedback from them. So yeah, it definitely is good to know that we do have those listeners. You know, I don't really get into this a lot, but one of the things I've come to realize about this area of content creation that we're in, it seems as if we're getting back to the 2010, 11 years in which, you know, the algorithms are so, I want to use the word advanced. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but you have so much happening with algorithms and bots and artificial intelligence that it's almost as if you need to reconnect with that user base. You know, those listeners, and those listeners may not be a million because the algorithm won't allow you to get a million listeners anyway.
Right.
You know, and so you need to reconnect with those 100, 1,000 listeners to
Mhm.
whatever the form of content is, whether it be your live reels or whether it be just your posting of a video that goes viral or whatever. But you just need to get back to that user base that is more organic. I believe that's what's happening right now. So we're going to explore more of that with the podcast itself.
Organic and substantial.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I hear the word organic, I think free. So I always think free. And because over the years,
Authentic.
I think free.
Okay.
Because
free.
and the reason I say that is because we spend so much on ads from time to time. And one thing that I've noticed over the months is that the ad spend has continually gone down. The quality of the leads have been near to garbage. You know, so it just seems as if you're getting more bang from your buck with the free content.
Yep.
Now, how much of that is really true? You know, I'm sure those experts are, more savvy than myself, are out there and could give us. When I say that, you know who I think of?
Who?
Rob Courtney.
Hey.
Rob Courtney is probably the person that we need to bring on and have this conversation with.
Okay.
So perhaps in an upcoming episode, and it'll have to be probably in the upcoming year, we definitely need to check in with Rob and find out what is going on with my algorithm and why am I getting so many bots in these lead generation forms.
Great question.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned.
Absolutely.
We'll bring Rob Courtney back in the building and have that dialogue.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Right on. All right. So, and let's kick off with DSDT Holdings to wrap up the year. Tell us about that.
So DSDT Holdings was the nonprofit that, again, we started here at DSDT in order that we would be able to provide scholarships for those who wanted to take DSDT programs. So with the nonprofit, the hope is that we would be able to, of course, offset the 90-10 that we had, the new rule that started last January. And it affects all institutions that receive some form of, federal dollars. And so we started this nonprofit in order to connect those individuals who didn't have access and who needed a little financial assistance with some of the training opportunities that we have here.
And the bottom line is, with this new rule, those funding sources have to come from third party. They can't. You guys just can't. You just can't scholarship someone if you want.
And that was the problem. And that's one of the things that I have done historically since 2016. Where there's a need, I always try to pair individuals with the training opportunities here. And I don't necessarily allow that financial burden to be a barrier to the education. So I remember a time when we would just simply try to say that, hey, whatever you can afford, we love to have you in the class. And of course, I've gotten in trouble several times with this ideology from the Department of Education, as well as with
rules are rules.
The VA. And so my hope now is that as our community gathers, they find value in what we provide here. And for the person that comes in behind you, you would be willing to pay it forward. So, whether it's $5, $2, or whatever the case may be, everything helps and it goes towards the overall goal. I think right now we're at roughly about $35,000 that we're trying to raise. And remember now, we've raised close to $300,000, maybe 330, I think it is, 330 over the past year. So, and again, that offsets the federal dollars that we've taken in throughout the year.
Absolutely. It's a process with any organization, any company. There's always rules we have to follow.
Yeah,
and that's what it is.
You got to think, for me, this has been definitely a change in stride, because the nonprofit world is definitely different than any other business structure. And it really takes a special kind of individual to get out and hustle, if I can use that word, hustle in order to bring in the dollars that will allow the nonprofit to succeed.
Bottom line is, this is another way to help many individuals who are in the digital divide bridge that gap.
Right. And let me just reiterate this fact. So I could hear someone saying, well, Karlos, why don't you just, take some money and put it into the nonprofit? And
well, that again, you can't, with the new rules, you can't do that.
You can't do it.
Because it's your funding, your checking account, et cetera. You can't do that.
We have We have third party audits all the time, and these audits would find those dollars.
Yes.
And if they find those dollars,
You're in trouble.
absolutely. Not only would I lose the license, but there's actually some legal penalties for that as well. So it's real simple. The rules were set up as they were specifically for this reason. And so if they tell you that you can't inject into that 10% from your own accounts, then that's what they meant. So again, we're just at the end of the year trying to close out and fill that gap of that $30,000.
Okay, folks have until December 31st.
December 31st at midnight.
Okay,
All
that's
right.
what it is, and that's what it's going to be, brother.
And
there's the website.
Absolutely. If you want to make a contribution, go to www.dsdtholdings with an S.org. O-R-G.
All right, right on, brother.
All right, and also just a quick reminder, we got DSDT classes starting up again January. And the programs that we have here at DSDT, I don't know where you are in your life, whether you've been considering getting specifically into the tech world, although we do have the medical assistant program. Here's a list of the programs that we have on your screen right now. Make sure that you reach out to one of my team members before the end of the year.
And I see AI prompt specialist. I took that course. Great course. Prompt engineer professional. Full stack developer, medical assistant, as you just mentioned, business information technology specialist, digital marketing professional, technology professional level 2, technology professional level 6.
Right.
All right.
And so a lot of these programs, they range anywhere from 1 month all the way to 9.5 months, which would be the medical assistant program.
Okay.
So wherever you are, whatever you're trying to do, whether you're trying to upskill yourself or trying to get some new skills altogether, then I'm sure that we have a program that would fit wherever you see yourself in the next 5 months, the next year. So the email here at DSDT is DSDT. Well, not email, but website is dsdt.edu.
Right.
If you go to the website, you'll find all the information that you need in order to get connected with the programs that we have.
Okay. It feels like 2024 is a year to get to work, elevate.
Is it?
I feel like that every year. It kind of does. I'm going to be doing something for the first time on New Year's Day that I have not done in a long time. I'll actually be working. Like I normally take New Year's Day off. I normally take it off, but hey, scheduling is what it is. My boss came up to me and said, "Hey, I really couldn't get it all for you this time around. Would you mind coming in to do the morning show?" Blah blah blah. It's like, sure, no problem.
That sounded like reverse psychology 101. Hey, I couldn't get it off. Would you mind coming in to do it?
But you know what? But here's the point for me. I didn't mind one bit. I didn't even have a bummer kind of moment.
Yeah.
It was just like, all right, cool.
Josh, you seem like you're in that space right now anyways.
I am.
Like, no problem. I got you. Hey, don't worry. I can do this. I wasn't going to do anything anyways. To just go home and just chillax.
Yes, I am in that rhythm, that vibe.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Speaking about next year, let's go into something else for our let's talk about what's happening next year, and that is what's happening. Apple. Okay, so rumor is Apple is planning to revamp its iPad lineup, which includes the iPad Pro, iPad Air, and iPad Mini. So imagine slicker designs, potentially new features, and maybe even some unexpected surprises. So look, it's a way to make it more user-friendly is what we're understanding. I mean, I thought the iPad was simple enough, but hey, it looks like Apple, they want to make it even simpler.
Okay.
Hey, I'm always down for user-friendly.
Okay.
At the end of the day.
Okay.
The simpler we can make things, but even more advanced, all for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes technology fabulous. Yeah. As it continues to evolve, it becomes easier and easier to learn and to use. Once you dive into it.
My thing is, I just wonder who's still using an iPad.
Yeah, folks who still use an iPad, because look, we have our laptops here because we're on a desk, we're hosting our podcast together. But when you're on a plane, etc., your iPad can do everything your laptop can do, but it's just more logistically friendly, if you will.
Right. Well, I have an iPad, but it sits on my nightstand, and I can't tell you the last time
I've been meaning to get an iPad, so if you're not using it,
it's probably a generation 3.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
I'm just saying. I don't even know if it connects to the internet. It's so old.
Never mind. Well, on that note,
just saying.
I'll hold off. Okay. So, what else do we have going on here? What else is cracking lacking? Elon Musk petitions the U.S. Supreme Court for more freedom to post on X. So what's going on with Elon Musk this time around? So apparently Elon Musk is trying to shake things up again, and this time he's taking it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. I mean, what is he up to? A legal showdown, a tech controversy, or something totally unexpected? Whatever it is, Mr. Musk is his style, bold and clearly headline grabbing.
Yeah, so I'm just at the point where it seems like every other story that comes across my news feed has something to do with freedom of speech.
Yes.
And so he's saying that when he was in some argument or whatever with the SEC, that part of the settlement was that he couldn't post certain things on X. And he believes that
formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, that he believes that interfered with his right of freedom of speech. You know, I was sitting there yesterday and I was listening to something about what Donald Trump is trying to argue, and he wants it to be taken up with the Supreme Court as well. It's about freedom of speech, you know, the gag order and everything. And it just seems as if history is trying to repeat or rewrite itself. There's a reason why the forefathers thought enough to put into the Bill of Rights that we could have freedom of speech.
Correct.
And it seems more and more you have big government trying to limit your freedom of speech. And I don't get that. Like one of the stories I heard this morning on my favorite news broadcast, Fox 2. Remember that?
Thank you, sir.
Fox 2 Detroit.
Yes, sir.
I was listening and they were talking about a young man who here in Michigan is being charged for assisted suicide of a kid in Texas.
Yes.
Why? Because they were gamers. And as they were playing the video game, he said to the young person to go through with the suicide. And because he did, now he's being held accountable legally and criminally for saying that. And I thought again to myself, this is another assault on freedom of speech. Now, if I tell you to take this gun and run up in there and shoot everybody up, I mean, I believe that the founding fathers gave us the right to be able to say whatever.
Yes.
I absolutely believe
with that being said, Karlos, we also have to keep in mind today's climate.
And I get that, but that freedom of speech was supposed to ride the tides of today's climate. They had the forethought that at some point it was just going to be, it would be more than horse-drawn carriages and you know the primal society that they had. And if that was to be the case, they already knew that we would need freedom of speech in times even of today.
Yes. It's just that particular story is just tragic.
Absolutely, it's
the
tragic.
Circumstances from start to finish, no matter how you try to slice it, a young person took their own life. And
absolutely, I'm not going. Come on, so horrific. And definitely my heart goes out to the family that lost the child.
Yes.
My only thought in the whole matter is how or at what point do we draw a line with the claims that are being made as it relates to freedom of speech?
It can become a murky topic at times.
It's murky, but I still feel as though, so if I listen to the rap song and the rap song tells me to take my car and drive it off the bridge and I do it, is the rapper held responsible? is the rapper held responsible? Because he told me to do it.
The only thing I can argue or debate with you respectfully in those regards is you're listening to a song. It's not direct communication with you.
No, it was direct. I think he was talking to me.
I mean,
he was talking to me.
Well, you might. It may have sent a message to you directly, but that rapper wasn't communicating with you directly. Versus this tragedy involving someone who's from here, and then the situation with the person down in Texas, who took their own life. That was one-on-one direct communication, like you and me are directly communicating with each other. Again, it's hitting on your point of freedom of speech. It does become murky at times. It does.
It does. But I mean, again, it was written into the Bill of Rights for a reason. And the reason was because when we came from, whether it was England or wherever you want to say, Britain, at the end of the day, we did not have the right to speak freely.
Right.
And so they thought it so much that we should not all of us, because not all of us were even considered to be a person at that time. But they thought so much about it that they wanted it to be enshrined into the Constitution, that you have the right to say it.
Yeah.
I
think at the end of the day, when that happened, when the forefathers made history on that note, the climate at that time was different. The climate right here, right now is different. We have to keep that in mind.
I don't know when you say that. See, that bothers me. When you say the climate was different, let me say because of this.
Yes.
We're talking at a time that they had to come with this Constitution because they had soldiers that were coming to this land and they were quartering their homes. They would literally come in to your house and take it over. We're talking about a climate at that day and age that if they didn't like the way that the sheriff was doing his job, the people would mob together, go into the jail and take the sheriff and hang him and the person that was accused of whatever. So we're talking about a time that was a lot more archaic than what today is.
Not arguing that. All I'm laying out is suicide, cyberbullying. They are big conversations right now.
Absolutely they are. And the freedom of speech was enshrined into the Constitution, and they understood it back then.
Yes.
Say what you feel and get it off your chest. And nobody's going to lock you up just because you said whatever the case may be, right? Of course, I get it. You got to deal with the consequences of your actions, but you start to, I think you start to build a society or a populace that are afraid to speak their minds because of the blowback they get, the hashtag Me Too movement, the cancel culture. You start to write people off, and before you know it, nobody wants to say anything because they don't want to hurt anybody's feeling, or they don't want to be held accountable legally or lawfully because of those words.
And if you eliminate candor, then in many ways you eliminate dialogue.
And so how are we to discuss it if I can't talk? The next thing you know, we'll have a country that's running amok, and even the press can't even say anything. And I know that this is the reason why it was enshrined in the Constitution. I'm just saying.
All right. What's up next? What else is happening in Let's Talk? We talked a lot about that.
Oh, absolutely.
That went deep.
Gemini. Introducing Gemini, Google's response to GPT.
Yeah. So it sounds like ChatGPT is about to have a little bit of a competition.
Yeah. Absolutely, it's about to have some competition. Why? Because Google has made this model that they're saying that it's going to rival ChatGPT 4.
And they're calling it Google's latest AI brainchild.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you, I actually was watching some of the reports about this, and I as soon as I saw it, as soon as I saw it, I hopped online, and I got to be one of the first ones to start toying around with whatever the tool is. And early on, I found out that, again, I don't like it. It's just something about Bard I don't like, and there's nothing that they can do to make me like it. And given the fact that the promos that came out as it relates to Gemini made you feel that it was capable of doing some things that now we have learned that I believe Google kind of lied as they were promoting this this release last week, and we found that the video was edited in a way to say that the model could do things that it wasn't capable of, and at the same time that the model was comparable to ChatGPT-4. Well, we already know that it's not just ChatGPT-4. We've had a release since then. We have ChatGPT-4 Turbo.
Yes.
Right. So it was showing ChatGPT-4 and Gemini neck and neck, and that Gemini was beating it at all these benchmarks. Well, who cares? That was an old model that it was being run against. So Google's best model still isn't as good as ChatGPT-4 Turbo.
All right. How about this? We leave this topic here for now. Let's give it a little bit of time in 2024.
Absolutely.
And then see how Google's Gemini evolves, or how does it perform, and then let's compare the two on a later episode.
We can do that. We can.
And I suggested that because I was not on board with the ChatGPT initially. I was like, "Ooh, this is plagiarism and this and that." Like, I was skeptical,
right,
initially.
Right.
Now I've become more optimistic.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Llama?
I have not heard of Llama.
That's my point. That's my point. You haven't heard of Llama? No different than Gemini. Llama is Meta's large language model, one of them.
Okay.
Right? And it is nowhere near. It has not the capabilities of a ChatGPT. And so that's why a lot of times you don't hear anything about Llama, even though it's pretty, it's a model that is used in a lot of Meta's development. And so I believe that the conversation will continue to be around OpenAI unless we have something that comes along and just literally blows it away. And right now we don't have that. There's not a model that Anthropic was making a good run for it for the first month that it was out.
Yeah.
But when they come with this last edition or this last version of ChatGPT, even Anthropic is not able to say that its benchmarks are higher than ChatGPT. And I like both those models.
Yes.
So use those all the time.
Stay tuned.
All right. Lastly, I think it's time for us to get in some tech news.
Yeah, and this week we have AI, Amber Boone.
AI Amber, because Amber couldn't be with us today, of course. And so we're just going to go ahead and bring in tech news with Amber by using her.
On what's the top 3 trending topics going into 2024, I believe?
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
So, I mean, did you talk to Amber this week?
No.
Okay. I was wondering if you spoke with her about, being here. So, all right. So add it to the stage.
A little editorial.
Today, we are going to go through some top tech predictions for 2024. These predictions will help you not only have an understanding as where tech as a whole is headed, where the industry is headed, but also to help you have an understanding as to where you might want to put your learnings. Now, some of these might not be necessarily applicable for learning a new skill, but what they will do is provide you with insight and expertise to be ahead of the group. The group? Who is the group? This starting to sound very futuresque now. Ahead of the industry, with looking ahead, knowing what's coming. And from there, I think it will help you make better decisions when it comes to your career, when it comes to your role, all of the above. All right, let's get to it. You can tell this is end of day. I've had too much coffee. First tech prediction I want to share with you is actually not one of my own, but we are leaning on people who have been in the industry for decades, which I cannot say I've been in the industry for decades yet anyway. But now I'm leaning on someone who has years and years and years of experience, which is Amazon's CTO. Now, I don't know, I was reading his tech predictions for 2024 recently, and I thought it was really interesting because there was a lot on there that I agreed with. One being this one. I'm going to read it to you. He says he predicts in 2024 it will be the year in which the college education model will finally crack down in favor of industry-led skills-based training. That means companies have to shift not only how they hire, but also how they design the workplace to make sure their people are constantly learning. This, in my opinion, is something that has been put off for way too long. Industry skills that you are actually learning when you are in school. Now, that isn't to take away what we are learning in school or in a formal education setting to be not important, or theory-based learning to not be the same level as more of these skill-based, tangible learnings. But what I do think it is missing from the educational system. And then we get into the workforce, and too often we're like, now what do we do? I learned theory. I didn't learn practical hands-on skills that I can take, or tangible things I can actually take into my job. So by introducing this earlier on when you are in school, I think this will really help. However, I do think there are a few things to know. If this trend does happen, this prediction from Amazon CTO does occur, what does that mean for us who are already working in the industry? For those of us who are junior, mid, or senior, one thing I think it will do is drive up the competition. Tech is evolving and changing so quickly that as people who are, typically in school, young, from high school to college graduates, they're going to come into the workforce more prepared than ever if this trend does occur. Not saying otherwise. And what this will do is we'll put more pressure and more emphasis on people working in the industry already to continue to upskill. So what does this all come down to? It comes down to something we talk about in almost every video of mine, which is continuous learning or forever learning. There will be this significance if you want to grow and succeed in your career around forever learning. Gone are the days when we can get a 9 to 5 and the learning stops. Whether you are in tech or otherwise, for most industries, we'll stick to tech though, you will need to keep on learning. And this doesn't have to be this high pressure pace. What it does mean though for employers is good employers and things to look for when you are looking for an employer are, do they offer learning credits? Do they offer learning time? What is the budget for buying courses at your work? That's very key. Next up, I predict in 2024, we are going to see huge breakthroughs with quantum computing. I mean, this is really based on all the breakthroughs we've been seeing in 2023. I have up on my screen here. Do you remember back in June? We're going way back now. IBM came out with an article or shared about an article with Forbes that says IBM achieves breakthroughs in quantum computing. Back in June, they were sharing some major breakthroughs they made with quantum computing. And this hit the internet. You saw it pretty much everywhere you looked. There were some major breakthroughs made. So what was this problem that IBM's quantum computer solved? Well, for the first time, they used their quantum computer to solve a problem that would stump the leading classical methods. So this basically is an accomplishment that would mark significant milestones in the path towards useful quantum computing systems and software. Now, for those of you who aren't as familiar with quantum computing, one of the things that still blows my mind and I find hard to wrap my head around, to be honest with you, is unlike traditional computers where they can solve one problem at once, so it's either true or false. We all know that. With quantum computers, they can solve multiple problems at the same time. That is why scientists are working so hard when it comes to quantum computing being able to That is why quantum computing scientists are working so hard to find solutions or find methods or ways to solve problems that we haven't been able to crack yet. I mean, think about everything being able to solve in double the time when it comes to finding new drug discovery, new medicine that has the potential to solve so many or find so many cures for different diseases or ailments. It's going to completely change everything. Now, why 2024? Well, once again, looking back at all the major breakthroughs from 2023, I think this is going to be our year for quantum computing. Equally with all the positives of quantum computing comes some things that have scientists a little weary. One being the potential for quantum computing to break encryption. Now, I don't think this is something we will have to worry about in 2024 or maybe ever, as they are working on putting a lot of safeguards around this. But here is what they mean when they say that quantum computing has the potential to break encryption and why it is so important. At least that it's being thought about right now. If quantum computing is able to break encryption, which essentially means solve encrypted passwords or different things like that, I mean, first of all, Our security systems would completely go out the window, from everything from medical, banks, etc., which would be catastrophic to say the least. The other thing though, if it had the potential to break encryption before we found a solution for it, it would mean that I don't even know how we could go back from that. So scientists are working on putting safeguards up for that quantum computing does not get used in this way. Only time will tell. There's a lot of theories on both sides if or if not this will happen. I think regardless, we are far away from quantum computing getting to that point. But it is a very interesting thought. You know how they say on TikTok, for those of you on TikTok, they go, my Roman Empire. And if you're not on TikTok, I can't blame you. But basically what it means is something you think about all the time. Quantum computing getting to the point where it can break encryption. That is my Roman Empire. That is something I literally will just be going to the grocery store and it'll just pop in my head. I'm like, can you imagine if in my lifetime it gets to the point where it can break encryption? Like, what would that look like? How would the world react? I don't know. Curious to get your thoughts on this. Maybe I'm crazy on it. I read a lot about quantum computing, and I think it's very interesting. Curious to hear if you do too. All right, there had to be a tech prediction in here around artificial intelligence, specifically generative AI. Of course there did. I mean, come on, it's a list for 2024. I had to include it. And I thought, what am I going to include around generative AI? Because when you look back from where we were a year ago to now, not in my wildest dreams could I have predicted what would have come. I mean, a year ago, ChatGPT just celebrated its first birthday, which is pretty mind-blowing when you think about everything that has come from that, both good and bad. What are my predictions for generative AI when it comes to 2024? Are developers going to become extinct? Data scientists gone? I mean, can we all just move to Mexico and call it a day? Well, I think we might be a little too soon for that, but curious to hear your thoughts if we will even get to that point. Leave down in the comments. Let's have some good discussions around it. But where I truly think generative AI will get to in 2024, let's focus on some tooling. I think it will really be more specialized and honed in for different career paths. So I think when it comes to software developers or data scientists, we will start using generative AI tools anyways as part of our workflow. It will be almost unheard of if you are learning a new skill, if you are building a new app, to not use generative AI. I think by the end of 2024, if you're not using generative AI at some point in your build process, you will be behind. That's a pretty bold statement. So I'm happy to have conversations around this in the comments. The other thing I think generative AI will really exceed in 2024 is content creation. I mean, am I going to have a YouTube, career in 2024? Thank goodness I still work full-time in tech. What I think around generative AI and content creation will happen, though, is I recently saw it was Pico Labs who shared with the world now, to Stanford grads, that you can now input text, so input a prompt, and it will make this beautiful visual video or this beautiful video. And I'll put it up on screen here. You can literally type in whatever comes to mind, and if you want it to be realism, cartoons, drawings, you now have a video. I think that's going to be so useful for content creators, or even myself. I can see me using it a lot when it comes to explaining technical things or wanting to have some real world examples. But when you think about the other side, for animators, for video creators, what does this mean for them? I think they are going to go through a lot of these pains that we went through in 2023 as developers around generative AI. And I think as generative AI continues to evolve, different workforces, different work fields or industries will feel these pain points that I think, honestly, the tech industry was one of the first ones to really experience. Not necessarily for loss of jobs, the first to experience with AI, but the first to have to learn to really grow with it. We really did, as tech, as a whole in tech, had to learn this past year to grow with generative AI and to start using these tools at a very quick pace. 2023 was a year.
All right, AI Amber, thank you.
Technology is, I'm telling you,
Man,
I'm telling you,
AI Amber looks more and more like
Amber.
Yeah, as if she was right here, right now. Wow.
Yeah. I think one of the takeaways for me from what she was saying was how these AI tools are more or less tools, right? I remember when we first started the drone technology program at DSDT, we were literally the first organization or the first school in the state to offer the program. And the belief was that, oh, there was going to be this huge industry that was spurred as a result of it, and folks were going to be getting jobs, and everywhere you look, somebody was going to be out here flying a drone. But the fact of the matter is, as we began to go through the days and months of the tools developing, we come to understand and realize it's just a tool. It's not like, it's like taking a class to use a hammer. You don't need a class to use a hammer. The hammer is just a tool. And once you get it within a few hours, whatever, you got it. So drone technology, although there was the licensing part of it, the part 107, it was simply a tool to do whatever, surveying of bridges, or filming in another way that we hadn't been able to do in the past without a helicopter. I think that these AI tools are simply that too. They're not an industry within themselves. They are tools. They're tools to perhaps create new industries, but they're not necessarily something that is going to be the way of the world and everything's coming to an end. No, so many industries are going to be impacted by these tools. So as she alluded to, when you learn the tools is what's going to set you apart from those who haven't.
And her prediction is also, if you don't learn these tools or begin to learn them by the end of 2024, the end of next year, you will probably be far behind.
You're already behind.
Okay, fair enough.
You're already behind, and I know that a lot of individuals are still somewhat not utilizing them, and to each his own. But I tell you, the more and more these things become commonplace, the more and more you'll realize, how did I ever make it without it? How did I make it without having this AI tool? Like, again, I tell you guys all the time, if we go out of town, Alexa turn off all my lights and the fan. So whenever I'm out of town, it's hard to be like, hey, Alexa, turn the fan off. Babe, Alexa won't turn the fan off. Can you please get up and turn the fan off?
It's only a switch, Carlos. It's only a switch.
It's not only a switch. It's my AI compadre. I'm just saying.
To communicate with it.
Absolutely.
All right.
So who do we have, Josh, coming up?
Oh, for our special guest, we have Arabia Simon. She is the founder of Pogo, Politics on the Go.
Politics on the Go.
Politics on the Go. And part of the vision, due to following my conversations with Arabia, is to get the younger folks more involved in the voting process, to make it more user friendly, if you will, build more of a connection.
Okay, so when you say younger folks, I want to know how young these younger folks are, because I'm young.
We'll let Arabia allude, but the impression I got is you're 30 and younger.
Oh, 30 and younger. I guess that kind of be out by a few years.
You can download an app. There's a website. There are different tools you can utilize to make the voting process more engaging for younger folks.
All right, so why don't we just have Arabia come on and explain all this? Am I too young, or am I too young to use the app? Let's find out.
I don't think there's an age limit, but there's a vision. Let's bring on Arabia.
Arabia, please come out here and explain to Josh that I'm not too young for this. Arabia Simon, everybody. Arabia, how are you?
Hi there, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, so Arabia, let Carlos and I step aside for a moment and let you explain more so what your tool is, your organization, Politics on the Go.
Yeah, thank you. So Pogo is basically simplifying and personalizing the voter experience for Gen Z and millennials. I kind of alluded to it. We are targeting people 18 to 30, but there will not be an age limit. We want it to be user-friendly for everyone. And really what we're doing is building a gamified, nonpartisan mobile app that makes election research quick, personalized, transparent, and fun.
Ooh, wait.
I like this.
Ooh,
I like
so when you
this.
say nonpartisan, explain to me what that means.
Yeah, I love that, and I get that a lot. So really, what we're trying to do is present the information. We're not trying to sway you. We're not going to take any endorsements from candidates or anything like that. It's really showing you the information that we're gathering, because we're doing all that research for you as the voter, while also presenting you with different sources so you can make your own decision. A lot of the things that I've seen in my studies around young people is that they actually care more about specific policies over political party. And if you don't know, Gen Z and millennials will make up more than about 62% of the eligible voters in this country by 2036. So it's definitely an opportunity now to engage young people. And we're really trying to do that in a way that is policy driven over endorsements from political parties or trying to sway people in terms of decision making.
Arabia, do you have an actual app for this as well?
Yes, so the app is we're still in the development stage of our beta. We did get to test the minimal viable product during the previous election and then also just through our beta testing groups. Our app is set to launch in the new year. We're trying to be ready for the Michigan primary February 27th.
Okay, right on. I like that. And what are your goals by creating an app for your organization? Like with anything, that's part of today's world, part of the technology in utilizing these tools where apps are the way to go. Okay, I just bought a new home. I downloaded the app to where I can make my monthly mortgage payments. I mean, that apps are part of the norm.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But before you make that payment, can you download Cash App and send us some money? Thank you. Anyway,
If I become rich, I'll make a donation to DSBT Holdings.
he said, if I become rich, stop it. So where were you when this idea came to you, Arabia? I am so interested.
I was in college. So a little backstory. I voted for the first time in 2016, the Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump presidential election. And I, growing up, would consider myself a community organizer. I was pretty civically engaged. Like I was a teenager going to city council meetings. And I'm originally from New York. And when I went to college, I didn't even realize the amount of things I didn't know. Like I didn't know what an absentee ballot was. I forgot to switch over my registration. There was like a whole list of things that I really forgot about because I was occupied by school, work, things like that. And it started from that frustration, just being in the mailroom, trying to send out my absentee ballot, not knowing if it was going to get there on time, and also not even knowing some of the positions on the ballot. Like I didn't know what a comptroller was. I didn't know that we voted for judges and things like that. So it came from my own frustrations and then seeing other people around me going through that same experience. My background's in computer science and art and user experience design. So I basically conducted a study to see if I was the only one feeling this way. And come to find out, many people felt this way. Almost everyone I talk to can relate to that issue or problem in some level.
Yeah, you're talking to one of them because I don't know how many times I go into that to vote, and there's so many candidates on the ballot that I'm like, who is this person? I start sitting there and I'm playing tic-tac-toe, and I'm just telling the truth. I'm just telling the truth. So, do you have majority of the candidates listed in the app or anything akin to that?
Yeah, so the way that it will work for the launch on February 27th, we're focusing on local, working our way up. So with our MVPs, we focused in on Detroit, as well as Wayne County, and now we're going to cover the whole state. So within the platform, you tell us what issues you care about, and then we match you to candidates. The young people call us like the Tinder for politics. We match you to candidates on your ballot who most closely align. So essentially, every candidate on the ballot will have a profile, and we're gathering that information on the behind the scenes, matching you with them, and then you can swipe left and right on those candidates to save them to your ballot within the app. So you can kind of go past that problem of trying to Google right before or while you're in line. You can just pull up your Pogo ballot and know who you want to vote for, essentially.
It sounds like I'm on Netflix and I'm starting a new account and it's asking me my favorite types of movies. and it's making the matches for me.
Yeah, algorithm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But so I'm sorry, I gotta be the voice of reason in the room. How is this not a form of swaying the individual? I mean, I hear that there's an algorithm within the application that's going to connect someone with who they believe or who it believes most closely aligns with their beliefs or their politics. How isn't this kind of like swaying them? And I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to bring up. So what we do is essentially show you how closely the algorithm is based off like relation, how closely you're related to them based off the issues you care about. But what we don't do is just show you those candidates that you are most closely related to. We show you all the candidates on your ballot, so the last decision is still up to the voter essentially. And that's something that we're doing so that we're not trying to sway people. Again, on the back end, there will be no endorsement. So it's not like we're pushing certain profiles to the front of the stack. On the visual side of it, it's really based off of the issues that you say are most important to you. Because within that, you tell us the issues you care about and how much you care about them. And then we go off of the information that we gather on candidates to kind of match that. So it's a little bit of a process there. But our hopes is that people will see that our intentions are pure, and then we're also going to be very open and honest when it comes to our policies around our algorithm and gathering candidate data and research process.
Yeah, this seems difficult. I mean, in a climate right now where you have your metas and you have all these companies that are trying to stay out of the political arena, and they are tagging your advertisements. Like every time I go to advertise, especially on Facebook nowadays, it asks me, are these ads having anything to do with politics? And it seems as though you guys are grabbing this uh the great elephant in the room. You're grabbing it and actually dealing with it as opposed to simply saying we're not going to as a software company. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think that even though these companies have made a stance for their creators to not be posting those kind of things, they most definitely are still selling your data and most definitely sharing your information with the political space. So as much as they say they want to be out of politics, any company that has ample amount of data is in politics at this point in 2023. So I think it's there's wiggle room there. I think what's most important to us is really being transparent to the voter and providing an experience to the voter that puts them first. And we have a serious civic education problem in this country, and somebody has to solve it. So we're trying to do that.
So are you starting in the Wayne County again, the areas that you're going to be starting in February?
In February, the app will be we will have local and state data when it comes to the whole Michigan. So all counties. And then we will also be covering the presidential election across the country.
How are you getting your user base? How are you advertising, or you taking signups, or how?
Yeah, so we're building a wait list. Right now, everything is pretty organic. We're doing social media. Most young people get their news from social media at this point. So we're leveraging like content creation, content marketing. We're doing more podcasts and press opportunities as well. A huge part of our marketing, though, will be partnerships. So we're trying to partner with nonprofits, both in the local area as well as nationally, to build up a network of kind of like memberships where we can leverage their membership networks, as well as colleges and universities to leverage their student bodies and things like that. But a lot of it is very organic. We're not at the stage yet to spend money on like advertisement and things like that.
Okay, so I know Josh probably got 1,000 questions, but here's my: how do you monetize this platform?
Yeah. So this is like I was saying before about the data. There is a huge opportunity when it comes to really understanding young people when it comes to Pogo. So going back to our transparency and all of that stuff, we are making a pledge to not sell any personal information or anything like that. So we are a data as a service company because within our platform we do polling. We have like a polling feature and things like that. So with that, we want to gather, basically be the space for public sentiment when it comes to young people.
With that being said, Arabia, well, here's a follow-up question. How are you able to balance user data privacy with personalized political recommendations?
Yeah, so right now, at this stage, we're still testing that out because we're not fully launched just yet. So we're, again, it's going to be more around like the onboarding when it comes to the matching algorithm. And then in terms of the data, that's more of around like insights and the polling feature that we have in our platform. So we won't be selling anything around like your name or your email or anything like that. Does that answer your question?
I think it does. And just to clarify, names won't be out there, but potentially gender, age group.
Yeah, and like geolocation, because a lot of the things that our customers are campaigns themselves, because we're basically offering them an opportunity. Like I said, every candidate has a profile, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to pay to be on the platform in that sense. That's one guardrail we're putting up. But what they can pay for is an opportunity to directly engage their constituents through our platform. And the way that they'll do that is by having action buttons or push notification blasts, things like that. And then in return, they will also be able to have insights going back to that demographic information, geolocation information, as well as like education, different areas like that. And then we're still trying to figure out though what is valuable to our customer base, because there is a lot of opportunity with data. But again, we want to stick to being transparent with our user base, since we are a marketplace and we need to make sure that our data is protected and that we're protecting voters. So that's a high priority for us.
Oh, what you say, Josh?
You can do it!
What he said. In the end, Arabia, how do you feel this will increase younger voter turnout?
Yeah, so a huge part of our platform is the gamification. We think allowing making civic engagement fun, and then also making it community based, right? So seeing how your community is voting, seeing what issues your community or your people around you care about, will create a culture around voting. There's already a lot of that happening. Gen Z and millennials actually get a lot of slack for not showing up, but we actually 18 to 30-year-olds actually show up more than the last 3 generations did at that age. So there's a lot of stats and a lot of research behind young people showing up. And then if you see trends on social media, right, like we're really active when it comes to political issues. It's just actually getting to the polls. So Pogo will be that tool to get them to the polls, increase voting turnout, as well as build a culture around voting.
Well, and with that being said, stepping away from the age group for a second and hitting more on the geography, what about inner cities versus suburban areas where you have a lot of inner city residents who don't vote?
Yeah, that is and that's a lot of the reason why we started in Detroit. I think if we can make it happen in Detroit, like not being from here, right, and seeing the potential in Detroit and seeing what has already happened in Detroit, like I really believe in the vision of Detroit. And I think if we can make it happen in this city, in the blackest city in America, we can make it happen anywhere, right? Where there is a lot of voter suppression, where there is lack of education when it comes to civic engagement and things like that. So that's why we're starting here. And then we're starting in Michigan because it has the highest youth turnout. But going back away from age again, I really think that urban cities, inner cities has opportunity to kind of like galvanize the movement. If we can start in a big city and get enough people talking about it, then it can spread to the other parts of the country.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Very interesting.
That's cool. So how might we be able to aid in it? Because I know I'm older than 30. I'm older than 30, but I do have 2 daughters that I'm willing to sacrifice to the cause. 18 to 24, and the 24-year-old told me that she did not vote in the last election. I was so disheartened. I was, because they grew up going to the polls with me. And so I definitely want them to get engaged to understand what's going on in the arena around them. So how do I get them connected with Pogo?
Yeah. So they can follow us on Instagram first and foremost. That's where we do most of our content marketing. Pogo.vote. You can also sign up for our wait list, and they'll be the first ones on our app when we launch our beta. And really, I've been telling everyone, because parents actually ask me this a lot. Force kids, tell them to get on it, download it on their phone. I don't care. But really, really seriously though, I think following us on social media, getting signed up on our newsletter, as well as our wait list, is the best way to stay updated to what we're doing. Again, we're going to be in the press more going into 2024, so there will be more opportunities to hear about our progress and things like that.
How many team members do you have right now for this development?
Yeah, so I'm the only full-time team member at the moment, but I actually just raised 25K last week, so I'm bringing on some part-time.
All right.
That's what I'm talking about. That money talks. Yeah.
And, we have a strong belief in internships and fellowships. So I actually have 2 interns right now who are getting college credit, working in our research team. And then I have a team of advisors who are experts in civic tech, big data, fundraising, as well as like a CFO.
Okay, I will say it in case he didn't say it. You can say it. Arabia, I am so impressed with you.
Absolutely.
I am so impressed with you. I wish you nothing but great success. And I know that this was the idea that you had in your Facebook moment. And I say Facebook moment because who knows whether or not you'll have another one. But I have to sit here and believe that there's some great things ahead in this life for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, I got 2 of them at home. I got 2 daughters, right? And you are just so impressive. You really are. So your heart's desire, I hope that the universe opens up and pours it out for you.
Amen.
Thank y'all so much for having me. I really appreciate this. And yeah, please sign up for Pogo, pogo.vote.
I'm too old.
No age limit, Karlos. No age limit. And tell folks again one more time, Arabia, where can they find you?
Pogo.vote on Instagram.
All right.
I'm about to do it right now.
There you go.
Listen, thank you for taking out time to come and be with us today to explain to us how we definitely need to get out and vote, and we just need to stay more informed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so many times I'm on CNN, I'm on NPR, I'm on Fox 2 News because I just want to know what's going on in the world around me, and this is by far one of those tools to help with that. We really do appreciate you. And if there's anything at any given time that we can do here at DSDT, Josh and myself included, we're definitely here for you. Okay.
Cool. Thank you so much.
All right. So let us know when you're ready to make that media blitz, because I know somebody who knows somebody.
Yes.
when it's launched and it's building traction, may want to talk to somebody.
There we go. There we go.
Listen.
God. Appreciate you, and you take care.
Bye.
Right on. Wow. Impressive.
I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
See, sometimes I do think before I speak. I'm not going to say it, but I will say it later.
Okay.
I will say it later.
All right.
I got 2 of them. I'm just saying, I got 2 daughters. I got 2 of them, and they're not as politically engaged, nor are they as into technology as that idea. And I am so impressed by that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that
they'll catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know, and I'm not saying that everybody has to go down the same roadway and they have to be in the same vein with the same ideas. I'm not saying that. I'm a techie. Mm-hmm. And I'm so impressed of the younger generation. I'm so many times saying to you guys that I wish that I had another 100 years to see where this evolves to. Mm-hmm. And for those who are coming after me at 51 years old and they're 25 years old and they still got those next 25, 50 years ahead of them, and they're talking technology, I'm in that's my love language. You know, anybody that is speaking anything akin to that is my love language. Now, you go to talking outside of that, then you get to losing me. Like, for instance, what happened with the Lions this weekend. I don't know. I don't know. But Josh knows.
Oh,
Josh
yeah.
knows.
We know very well.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk. We'll let them bounce back against Denver.
We'll talk about it next week.
Talk about it next week.
Okay. Hey, a couple real close things.
Hit me.
I was at the dentist yesterday.
Yes.
And you know what I learned?
What did you learn?
Well, no, it was here up in the medical program first.
Okay.
I was upstairs with the ladies in the MA program, and I learned from 20 feet away that I have 20/20 visions. Somebody give me a round of applause for that. I have 20/20 vision. I wear these things faithfully when I'm sitting here looking at the screen.
So
I don't know how it works. Look, and just go with me.
Okay.
I don't know how it works.
What doctor assigned you those glasses? If you
I've been wearing. Hold on now. I've been wearing glasses since the second grade. Grade, and when I was younger, and hell of a on here at one point. I was nearsighted in one eye and farsighted in the other, and I guess there actually is a name for that diagnosis in children. And so, but here lately, as I've gotten older, I always wear. I know I wear glasses when I'm trying to read the screen. Yeah. I can read. I can make it out, but it's not the greatest. But from afar, I found out I got 20/20 vision. I mean, I'm looking at the chart, and then she takes me up and she shows me Miss Yolanda up in the MA program. She takes me up and she says, "See your 20/20 vision." I said, "Whoa." She said, "I shouldn't have told you that yet." I said, "No, you shouldn't have told me that." And the other thing, you guys know that Karlos has been working on getting this smile together. All right, so I've been doing the Smile Direct Club since September. I forget the date. Well, go to the dentist's office yesterday because I'm in the process. I had to get clean and all that stuff, and I had a wisdom tooth pulled. But anyways, I go to the dentist's office, and the first thing the lady says to me, she says, "Tell me that you did not get these aligners from Smile Direct Club." I said, "Well, no, I'm going to tell you I did get it." She said, "You know that they just closed yesterday, right?"
Oh.
I said, "What? What do you mean closed?" She says, "Yeah, they filed for bankruptcy and they're no longer in operation." What? No, I haven't heard. It wasn't on Fox 2 News. What do you mean?
You didn't pay them in full yet, did you?
Absolutely. Josh, I'm Karlos. What are you talking about? I didn't pay them in full. I don't need another bill. Yeah, I paid them in full. And they're in bankruptcy. And now I got to figure out how I'm going to. And so she took a picture of my teeth and she sent it to an orthodontist. And he said, "Stop wearing them immediately."
Wow.
I don't even know how I'm supposed to take that. I was supposed to have my smile by February. Yeah. I'm just saying. With that being said, why don't we just go ahead and go on off into YDSDT this week? All right, so this week we're going to be having YDSDT from Raquel Green, and she's going to explain to everybody why she chose DSDT.
Hey, my name is Raquel, and this is my YDSDT. I have my own business, Recreated by Rock, and it's a tie-dye business, and I noticed that I didn't realize what it took for marketing a business, so I decided to take the class. Upon applying for school, I also applied for the Be Good Foundation through our scholarship program, and I was one of the awardees. I've noticed that I don't really see schools that teach you digital marketing or teach you about technology and cybersecurity. They have many different programs here. And so I just went with a leap of faith, and I love the program. I learned about content creating. I learned about marketing. I learned about web design, graphic design, and many more programs in my 7.5-month program. And this is my YDSDT.
Right on, Raquel.
Did I just say? I think I said it a minute ago. I love her.
Mm-hmm.
I love her. If you remember, she was with us at CreatorCon.
Yes.
And she did her thing.
Very engaged.
We definitely appreciate Raquel and everyone else that are affiliated with DSDT and come here to make dreams happen. I really appreciate that. Josh?
Yes, I mean, a rock solid episode, packed in a lot.
I think we did okay.
Yes, I think we did just fine.
Yeah.
We did just fine. I'm digging this new setup. I know it's not the last of what you have in mind. I already know. I walked in this afternoon. I said, "Whoa, wait a minute. Okay. But I'm digging it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely digging it, man. More to come, clearly.
Absolutely.
Yes. So
take us home.
You got it, brother. Back at it next week.
Next
before
week,
Christmas holiday.
One more episode before the Christmas holiday.
All right. In the meantime, that will do it for the Tech School Podcast, powered by DSDT. See ya.